please raise your hand. Michael Kelsey.
Coach, I'm sure you saw Cooper Dawson's announcement, just your reaction when you saw the video and how all that blew up nationally.
You know, I wasn't very surprised. I mean, Cooper and his mom and dad came down here, and we had a great time with them on their recruiting weekend. Cooper's family is outstanding, and he's an outstanding young man. I think it was very gracious what he did, and it just kind of represents the people that we're trying to look to come up here and to join us in our community. I thought it was very gracious, very humbling, and well, it might start a brand new trend considering it's trending, but I thought it was really, really, really special.
Yeah.
Coach, just what you can say about your staff and what they've been to this program and you know, each of them going to their region, just what they've done recruiting-wise?
You know, they've done a nice job. You know, we work together. We're a little bit differently than the way we recruit. I like to consider ourselves, you know, we're very unique the way we do it, and it's a lot of team recruiting. We go out and we evaluate and gather talent individually, but once we bring them back, we evaluate it as a group and we recruit it as groups. And it takes a little bit longer. You don't get to touch so much of the country as maybe as some other staffs, but we feel like we do our homework very well, and we bring the right type of student athletes here to Syracuse.
Mark?
I think most people out there would think, they won 9 games this year, so they must have been able to get everybody they wanted. There must have been an immediate impact. How much of an impact did this year have on this class?
Again, most of this class was done off of our 4-8 season and our win over Clemson. And the other back part of our class was our 9-3 season and finishing second in the ACC Atlantic. And with the rankings that we haven't had here in a long time. The 9-3 season, the first part of our 2019 class will be off the 9-3 season, and then the second part of our 2019 class will be off of whatever we get done in the first half of the 29 season, ending somewhere around October. So the recruiting cycle with the new signing date is kind of put you into 2 different cycles, where half your class is recruited early off of what you did in 2018, and then 2017, and the other part's done is recruited off of what you do off of 2018.
So you're talking about the kids that didn't sign in February?
Even this class, you know, a lot of those kids are making their decisions. The front half of our class made their decisions before our season started. They were already committed to us. And they may not have been out there, but basically we had a pretty good feeling of who we were going to get. And then the second half kind of comes as the season's moving along.
So the 9-3 season will pay off next year?
Absolutely. The back half of it. The 9-3 will start the first half of the 2019 season, and then what we do in the 2019 season will be the back half of the class.
Steven?
With me?
I think so. Front half is now, the back half is in February.
Yes, there you go.
When you kind of look ahead toward February here, about how many more spots do you see, and does quarterback fit in there at all?
We're going to see. We've got some numbers we can move around and we can play with. If we find one that we feel is worthy, we'll bring one in, but we just don't want to force the issue.
Looking like 5 or so more spots?
It's going to be plus or minus somewhere close to that number, yes, sir.
Okay.
Mike?
Coach, a lot of defensive players as far as what the class looks like right now. Was that by design, or did the class cycle just kind of work out that way?
You know, when we first got here, the board, the offense and defensive board really wasn't balanced. And like I said, the first 2 classes was kind of best man available. After the 2017 and 2018 classes. Now what we need to do is we need to balance the board. And so we're really working hard to balance that out. It's probably going to take us somewhere around 2 years to where the numbers are exactly the way we want them and the scales are balanced so that we can take basically almost a set number every single year. So we've got about 2 more years before we can balance this thing out and really lay the foundation the way we want it so that we can take almost the exact number every year.
Dino?
Way back here, kind of piggyback off Mark's question a minute ago. You know, obviously mentioning that the 9-3 season will be felt more going forward. Is there anybody that, you know, maybe you've already talked to, I know you can't name names, of course, but whether it's later in the class of 2019, you're already starting to see the effects and how you guys are perceived on the road just because of this breakout season?
Yeah, well, let me answer your question another way, Nico.
Sure.
We've got a set number of scholarships left to be determined, and we have to decide how we want to do that. Whether we want to make it a February signee, Maybe it's a January transfer. Maybe it's somebody in the, what do they call that thing, the bank? What's the new thing in October where all those guys can put their names on there and say they want to transfer?
Database.
The database. Maybe it's someone off of the database, okay? So those scholarships are really divided into 3 areas, and you have to look at all 3 of those areas to see which one brings you the most value before you give it to someone on the second signing date in February.
Okay.
Coach, you committed to the plan that you had over these last 3 seasons. The school committed back to you with an extension. Just what you can say what the future looks like and what you've seen so far from being here at Syracuse.
Well, what I've seen so far is that we're far away, yet we're not that far away. You know, we're 2 fourth quarter stops and 2 fourth quarter touchdowns from, you know, having an unbelievable year. Now, of course, you can always flip that and say you won some close games and, you know, you won some overtime games that you could have lost, and that all comes out. But the bottom line is that we're very competitive on the field where we're at right now. We're not as deep as we need to be able to do the things that we want to do, okay, nationally, consistently. And that's what we're striving to do. We've got to build our depth up so that we can consistently be good enough that occasionally we can have that type of season that's outstanding. But that only comes with fantastic depth, where if you have the injuries, it doesn't set your entire team back, regardless of where that injury might be.
The commitment that you have from the school, though, just what that means to you from John Wildhack and the athletic department.
You know, I think the commitment from the chancellor all the way down to the athletic department with John Wildhack and the community. And I mean, they're part of that too. I mean, I'm sure I wouldn't be sitting here with a new contract if they felt bad about me. And the same thing with the football team. You know, out of all the things that were said and all the people who had said them, I got the most out of the football players say that they were glad that I was here and they were glad I was going to be around so that other young people could have a chance to be coached by me. To me, that was very, very flattering.
Mark?
All right, so we have front half and back half, but it is.
Okay, you got to speak up.
We have front half and back half class, but it is one class, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, so tell me what this class today represents and how much more you'll add to it in terms of talent because of the 9-win season in February. Do you anticipate?
I don't know. We have to see how much more we can add to this class. Again, we're still at the stage where most of our guys are 3-star athletes. I can't stand that star thing, but we'll throw it out there. That 3-star athletes that we have to develop in the weight room and we have to develop on the football field. Whether we have an Andre Cisco and an Andre Smith, whether we have a guy that can stand out and help us on the football field in 2019, we'll see. Hopefully we have 2 or 3 more of those individuals, but those individuals are extremely rare. And really, as the team continues to get older and more mature, that should happen less. It shouldn't happen more unless that individual is truly, truly exceptional. So hopefully we get to the point where there's less of those things happening and we have the majority of our football team on campus already being trained, already knowing the plays on offense and defense and special teams, and ready and fully developed so they can help us in the ACC Atlantic.
If you're going to use the star rating, do you anticipate getting more 4 and 5 stars now?
You know, I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to a little bit more of them. You know, they're hard to get. Okay, there's a lot of public scrutiny about, you know, those guys going to certain places. And there's got to be a special individual to be able to step away and say that I can see the vision, I can see the future, and this is where I want to go and be a part of it, because we're going to be blazing our own path and not necessarily following down the path that other people have already set.
Darius?
Coach, how many of this class, these signings that you already have, do you expect to maybe enroll in January? And is there a bigger benefit for the athletes to be able to do that, or for the coaches to kind of get?
That's kind of based off of NC2A stuff. I don't want to get the number out there. But if you come in early, you have a better opportunity to not only graduate with your undergraduate degree, but graduate with your master's degree if you get an opportunity to redshirt. That's from an academic standpoint. Obviously, from the athletic standpoint, you get an opportunity to go through spring ball, which is what Andre Cisco did last year, which really gives you a strong opportunity to be a major player in the fall camp to win you a position, because you don't have to think about what you're doing. You already know what to do, and you can just let your athletic ability come through.
Nate?
I don't know how much you've thought about this, but coming off the 9-3 season now,
Closed off position.
I've kind of given it a little bit of thought that maybe now's the time to ask it again. But as you've alluded to, now you're starting to get in front of some higher caliber athletes than you were maybe in previous cycles. Is it time to have a conversation about revisiting the 44 thing, knowing that you are going to be in front of some?
Again, when I walked out of my office, I saw there's jerseys up in my office, and every one of those jerseys represent a star. And it was interesting. The only 2 jerseys that had Super Bowl rings were the 2 guys in high school that had 0 stars. In fact, I want to say out of the 2 0-star jerseys on my office wall, I want to say there's 4 Super Bowl rings. I might be wrong. I know there's 3 of them. So it's interesting. That's why when you say the star thing, you got to be very careful. There's 5. Okay, let me back up for a second. I want to say in the last Super Bowl, they said that there were more 3 stars, 2 stars, and 1 stars in the game than there were 4 stars and 5 stars on both teams combined. So you guys do your homework. Be careful about labeling, 18-year-olds, because you don't know what they're going to turn out to be in 21 and 22. Just look at some of the men in this room. We could raise our hands. What we were at 18 and what we are now. I know you. I mean, you were nowhere close. That's right. I'm looking at you. So totally different. And it's hard to predict all that stuff. It really is hard to predict it. So you just got to be careful, I think.
Oh, but I was talking about the 44 jersey here.
Well, you were talking about 2 things. You talked about the stars, then you went with the 44 jersey.
Right.
We got to make sure we recruit somebody good enough that they can wear the 44 jersey. We'll see.
I'm just curious if it's maybe time to have those conversations at a higher level again, or revisit that conversation, knowing where you're trying to take the program and knowing what that number.
Okay, now you're confusing me, because as far as I know, the 44 jersey is not retired. You're telling me it's retired.
No, I'm saying they're waiting for it to bring it back. But
Right. So is it retired or not retired?
It's not out there.
What did he just say?
It's not in circulation at the moment.
It's not in circulation. I can agree with that. Yeah, it's not in circulation at the moment. So we'll see.
Steven?
Seems like 2 of the positions you're going to look to replace starters at this year are offensive tackle and linebacker. Obviously, a really highly touted group of linebackers, and you got Darius at tackle, who has some experience. I'm curious how you see those guys maybe fitting into the competition.
Not at all. You throw them in the hat and let them sift themselves out of it. You never know who's going to be the guy. You really don't. And you just got to make sure that you have enough numbers in those positions that it gives you enough options. Okay, that those guys can hopefully come in and do the job that needs to be done, because we definitely have a need in both the areas you mentioned.
Is there maybe an extra emphasis for, obviously, the linebackers are high school guys, so don't have experience, but getting experience with that position, or, ideally you want to get the best guys at any spot, but to have them at a spot where you need playing time.
We want to get the best guys we can get at any spot, and the older, the more mature they are physically, the better off we are at those situations, unless they're a kicker. Then physically, it doesn't matter.
Time for 2 more questions. Nico?
Coach, will step outside recruiting for 1 second here. I don't know if you saw, you were busy man recruiting and everything, bowl practices. But on 690, the highway, there's actually a billboard that says, "All we want for Christmas, never mind we got it." It's a picture of you. And I don't think it's affiliated with the university. In fact, it's a picture of when you were Bowling Green. What does that mean to you when you see that somebody or some company took the time to celebrate your contract extension with something like a billboard on the highway? It's not even affiliated with SU or anything like that.
I'm very flattered by that. I haven't seen it. I've heard stories about it. When I first heard about it, someone said it was fake news. And I'm like, when I hear that term, I'm like, okay, so it's not really happening. But then I guess one of my daughters told me it was real. They drove past it, so I do believe them. It's very flattering. I guess I don't really have much more to say about it than that. I guess I should drive by there and take a look, I guess.
Last question, Mark?
The 2 linebackers, Jones and Kova, are supposedly 4 stars, and I got 3. I raised my hand a lot. Can you talk about those 2 guys, and do you think either of them could maybe come in and contribute?
This is how I look at it. We're going to recruit the best athletes that we can possibly recruit, regardless of what the positions are. It would be really unfair for me to say that those young men are going to come in and be able to do this and do that over young men that have already been in this program that's been physically developed 2 or 3 years by our strength staff, or has been coached 2 or 3 years by individual coaches in our program. You would like to think that somebody that's been with us 2 or 3 years should have not only a physical jump, but a mental jump on anyone coming behind them. That's the way the program should work. Now, that being said, the one thing that we will always do in this program is we will always play the best player no matter what. So that player has an opportunity to come in. You know, we don't haze our freshmen. We bring them in early. We have a big brother system where we're trying to teach them not only the things they need to do to be a good student athlete, okay, but also the things they need to do to become a good athlete. So we do everything in our power to allow them to blossom, to have the opportunity to play early, although we will not give them a gift, and we will not favor an upperclassman in that situation. So if a young man can come in like an Andre Sisco and make a move on everybody else in that position, he'll get every opportunity to do it. But you would like to think that the guys in the program have an advantage over the guys that haven't been in the program yet.